right, everybody. My name is Valerie Elliott. I'm the owner of Y-kiki Divers, and I'm really excited tonight for tonight's presentation. We have an absolutely stellar photographer joining us. But before I make introductions, I just wanted to take a quick opportunity to provide a little bit of shop news about what's going on here at the store. So first off, my most favorite event of the season, which is the Soak Your Gourd event, it's the underwater pumpkin carving contest, is this Saturday at Mermet Springs. We've got some fabulous prizes. The grand prize is a Scuba Pro regulator. And I'm here to tell you this is our 19th year, if you can believe it. Everybody brings their A game to this event. So it's supposedly going to have some beautiful weather, and we've got all the prizes we're packing. We've got some fun shirts. The design this year is great. So we would love to have you join us if you just wanted to show up. So I think we've got about 30 people signed up so far. So and then of course my favorite part of the whole evening is the burning of the pumpkins at the very end. So anybody that wants to, we put their pumpkin around the cauldron, and then we light them on fire, and they burn beautifully. So if you have a chance, join us this Saturday at Mermet Springs for my favorite event of the season. All right, let's see here. The other couple things I wanted to make mention of is Rescue Diver. Our final Rescue Diver class is coming up October 25th and 26th at Mermet. There are a couple of prerequisites. You need to have your emergency first responder, which is a class, a PADI class, that encompasses CPR, first aid, and using the AED. And then you also have to have your emergency oxygen provider course. But if you are already an advanced open water diver and you would consider rescue diver, this is the perfect time to do it. And we could certainly get those two prerequisite classes figured out. We have class dates scheduled for next week, I believe. Is that correct, Cindy? If you want to chime in for me, I think it's next week. EFR and O2.
I don't know if it's next week or the week after.
It might be the week after, but if you can't meet those dates, then just give us a call and we might be able to get the prerequisites done on a different date. The reason why the class, of course, is one of our most challenging but most rewarding classes. And then this year, PADI is offering a Master Scuba Diver Challenge. So if you have open water advanced rescue, 5 PADI specialties, and 50 log dives, you can apply to become a Master Scuba Diver, which is that highest recreational rating with PADI. And they were going to be waiving the registration fee. So as we all know, that's rare in the PADI world. So just a great opportunity to earn your Master Scuba Diver rating. Y-kiki Divers will provide you with a beautiful shirt. I should have worn one tonight, but a shirt showing that you're a Master Scuba Diver. And then you'll also be entered into a couple different prizes. So PADI themselves is having a big prize, but we here at Y-kiki Divers are also having a prize, and the grand prize is going to be a Garmin Mark III dive computer, 3i dive computer. So your chances of winning are much higher if you join us for that one. So so I just want to make sure that you guys know that Rescue Diver is coming up at the end of this month. The weather is going to be absolutely perfect, so a little bit cooler, and a great opportunity to earn your Master Scuba Diver rating. So we have that going on. Aqualung just announced that they are going to have they're having 15% off. It's across their brand. So it's Apex and Aqualung, and it's 15%. It's October 8th through the 14th. So a short window, but 15% off of Aqualung and Apex products, and we're well stocked. And so that just came across the wire, and they're launching it. So good opportunity to get maybe a new, either replace your existing set or get something new. In addition, then Scuba Pro has been offering their Mark 11. If you do a trade-in, just get any regulator, doesn't matter if it's working or not, for a trade-in. You buy a Mark 11 regulator and they will, you get the Octo free, which is about a $200 savings. So those two sales are going on right now. So stop in and see us for that. Let's see here. I wanted to quickly mention a couple of trips. So I know I've got a lot of faces on here that join me for travel. So real quick, my friend Nancy McGee is doing, you know how we're doing an Africa safari next December. She's doing it this December, and she had a couple bow out. They had to bow out, and I actually don't know the reasoning, but she has space for 2 people if you wanted to join her for Africa, the Africa safari. We had it sold out 2 years ago. And we're going to go next year. So a great opportunity with some of the very best people doing the safari. So call me and let me put you in touch with Nancy if that's even of interest. It's going to be in December, like December 1st-ish time frame through the 15th, first part of December. I want to make mention that Little Cayman Beach Resort, we have a male share and a couple of other rooms, and I have to release space October 17th. So this is the trip that's at the end of January to Little Cayman. One of my all-time favorite destinations, good diving, wonderful property, and a great opportunity to do a winter getaway. So, but I got to release space, so get your name on the list. It doesn't mean I can't add you later. It just means that I have to check and see if they have availability. Also, we were just talking about this here in the store, but Grenada, it's right over Valentine's Day, February 14th through the 21st, and we are going to go see Andrew at Grenada, True Blue Bay Resort and Aquanauts Dive Center for a week diving in Grenada. Banda C, this is on the Dewi Nusantara, which is just a 5-star charter, and it's in Indonesia. We're going to go see the Banda C, and I have 1 male share that just became available. I switched to the Nautilus Explorer on my Socorro trip. So it was in February. I'm now in April, and I have a male share and a female share left. So if maybe that might be of interest to some people. By far, Socorro is one of my most favorite destinations. Mantas, hopefully it's still within humpback whale season, so hopefully we can see the humpbacks, the sea lions, sharks, etc. So it's big boy diving. It's just tremendous, and you'll get off the boat and go, again, I want to do it again. So Nautilus Explorer. Girls trip. I only have 8 spots left, and I know that's in June. We're going to Bonaire this year, so 8 spots left. And only 5 spots open in Dominica. And then I do want to make mention, I only have a quad left for Thailand, but it might be fun to get 4 friends together and share the other quad. You've got the ladies quad on the other side, so maybe we can get a bunch of single folks, and it'll be in the other quad room that they have. So. Still lots going on here at the shop. We'd love to see you. Oh, and hopefully everybody saw my video. I am very excited. We invested in a brand new Bauer compressor. Got the air analysis yesterday. It's up and running. So we should have plenty of grade E quality air for you for years to come. And I'm tired of dealing with repairs. So we finally made the investment, and I'm pretty excited about that. So 2 thumbs up on that. I think that's all I've got. So without further ado, I would like to introduce tonight's speaker. So tonight we have joining us, it's Martin Broen. He's an award-winning photographer. He's a technical diver and an explorer. And I actually, my friends Cindy and Angie met him on a backscatter trip. I think it was a backscatter trip to, it was, oh gosh, I think it's Cuba. Wasn't it Cuba? Cuba. Yeah. And so there was like great shark photos, and so would you all please join me? He's joining us tonight to share his photography and his adventures. Please join me in welcoming Martin Broen. Yay!
Thank you, everyone. So I'm gonna present. I'm gonna share with you some of my photographic journey and how I got here, what I enjoy doing, and what's next. And in particular, I'm gonna share some of the cave diving photos. And I will assume that the first thing that comes to your mind when I say cave diving is wet rocks. There's nothing to see there, incredibly boring. There's no fauna, there's no fishes, there's no color, there's no big animals. And all that is true, but at the same time, it's some of the most spectacular scenes that you can find, and one of the most challenging to photograph, and that's why it really tricks me into it. So I'm gonna share a presentation, and if you want to do questions through the process, please interrupt. Don't worry about it. Otherwise, we can do it at the end. But I'm probably going to be talking for 45 minutes, so more than glad for you to interrupt. I hope you see. Can you see the presentation?
It's up. We see it just
Perfect. So Light in the Underworld, that's the name of the book I published, and I will explain why I published in a second. But it's really about a book trying to talk about the beauty and the secrets of the Mayan aquifer, so the freshwater river system that exists in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. So we're going to do a very fast intro. We're going to talk about the underworld, and I will explain why the underworld, and the learnings that gives us to us as photographers and passionate people for the underwater. Which, by the way, if you haven't done that basic course, do it. It's amazing. It's a course that allows you to understand not only how you are diving, but to read everybody else in the boat, to read everybody else that is diving with you. It really prepares to assess emergencies, to assess problems before they happen. So it's a very good tipping point in your diving journey into getting more serious and understanding why things are happening and mitigating risks. So going through the presentation, I consider myself a visual storyteller. I started loving capturing realities of nature. I love getting amazed by the beauty of nature, getting surprised with something, feeling like a kid, that you are not expecting something that you have in front of you. And if you're doing macro photography, you know what you expect, how that looks like. If you're diving to Sapporo, if you've been in the water with a handbag wave, you know exactly what I mean. This is a photo I took in the eclipse a year and a half ago. But basically, I like just going around and trying to understand how to capture the best way what is happening in front of me. But this is Baja California, where you have the Mogula rain migration. But it's really about understanding, okay, how I do that, how I take this split shot to be able to show that mass of figures that are moving below the boat, or taking a very complicated high-shot panorama to get the full performance of that figure of Mogulas, or the jumping ones in the ritual in the mornings. So it's really about understanding how, it forces you to understand what's the right technique to capture that beautiful moment of nature. My favorite thing to do in the water, honestly, is to dive with whales. No matter how it's a right whale when I start diving when I grow up in Argentina, or even with a humpback whale or a blue whale. This is a photo I took that is being used on the documentary The Return of the Giants, that you can see in some of the museums. But the notion of empathy that you can get when a whale looks at you at centimeters over your face is just the best experience that you can have on the planet. But basically, I ended up, for one reason or another, I really don't know how I got there. Basically, I was doing a cavern dive, and I freaked out because I realized that if my guide something will happen to my guide, I will be there trapped. And I didn't like the feeling, but instead of fighting it, it's like, okay, I need to learn about this. So I started learning into cave diving. Long story short, now I'm a full cave stage, multi-stage, going with a TPV, 4 tanks, repeater, and doing exploration in caves. So I started really loving that part. But the truth is that when I start shooting photography, I start realizing that I enjoy more the conservation component. That it's not about taking a shot to communicate, to show to my friends what I'm traveling, but figuring out how to show somebody else what's the beauty that we need to be protecting. And long story short, I just been admitted as part of the International League of Conservation Photographers, and then also that we got out today. It's really about understanding how we take part of it, how we start utilizing our photography to generate action. And that's what happened with me diving. I was going to Mexico year over year, diving 1K, 2Ks, 5, 10, 50, 100, and I realized that the people that I met on top of in the peninsula, the landowners, were not even aware what they have below their feet. That they were dumping there's no waste management in the peninsula. All the waste goes, all the sewers, all the gray water goes to the aquifer. They're building on top of it, they are collapsing. You may hear about the Maya train. They are throwing fertilizers in the same water that they drink and the same water that goes down to the ocean and affects the coral reef. So, and I realized that good photography has an impact. The notion that if you take a photo that has that impact, that will force somebody to stop and look at it, then you will engage in a conversation about understanding how to drive change. And there's a fantastic phrase from a Senegalese farmer many years ago, Paul Bavariou, that mentioned, in the end, we will only conserve what we love, and we will only love what we understand. And that's why if you don't know it, if it's out of mind, you will never do anything to protect it. So the thing is that we have a responsibility as divers. We all get exposed to things that very few people can see. So we have a responsibility to show them that, to show them it's not important about the quality. Clearly, the good photography will force somebody to stop and look. It's really about understanding how to start that dialogue between somebody that have not been exposed to that nature. So we're going to talk about the Yucatan Peninsula. As you know, is part of Mexico. That's where the Chicxulub asteroid, the one that wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago, impacted. So up there in the north of the Yucatan Peninsula, at the time when the asteroid impacted, all the peninsula was much more covered underwater. But then they realized that because the impact didn't create cenotes, but created conditions on the limestone of the peninsula for the limestones to start cracking and creating the cenotes. So basically, all the Yucatan Peninsula used to be a very low sea, where you have all the calcite of the shells of the crustaceans, of the coral reef, that then deposited and create limestone, which emerged because of the tectonic plates and created the Yucatan Peninsula. So it's so porous that the water creates these cenotes, these underwater resistance. And you have two main areas. You have that upper left, that is what is called the ring of cenotes, marked by that circle of the impact of the Chicxulub meteor. And then you have on the lower right, what is called the Riviera Maya, that is characterized for underground river systems. So it's not holes, but connected holes through a river. And they're the biggest river system in the world. In this moment, I think that they just overpassed Saskatoon, and they are the two biggest river systems in the world, and each of them connecting hundreds of different exits of cenotes. And these exits, basically what happens is that because this is limestone and therefore very sensitive, when it rains, the rains capture some of the CO2 in the atmosphere, creates a very weak acid, and dilutes the limestone. So when it's going through the cracks, it dilutes some of the limestone that start dripping, and by dripping stalactites that they drop into the ground and stalagmites, and suddenly they may connect and create a column. And that process is incredibly slow. And it happens not through one single glaciation cycle, when it's dry, but through multiple, in this case, 22 different cycles that we have registered. So that small formation suddenly becomes this. And you can see the level of decoration that this has. If you see, look at the ceiling. Again, this is how, but obviously this is a photographic journey, so all the photos that you will see are real, they're not Photoshop, they're not color graded. Everything that you're seeing is the proper photographic capture and being presented in context. So somebody review the rolls and they can testify that it's surreal photography. But you can see the level of, the amount of stalactites they have in that ceiling, the level of decoration. You can see that massive column in the center. So you can imagine that going through these chambers of, flooded chambers of crystal clear water, that you can really see as far as the light goes into what's next into that crazy labyrinth. And you're really navigating with that feeling of floating that, yes, of course you get that in open sea. But here, because the water is so clear, there's no particles, and nothing happened there in suspension, the feeling of floating is just tremendous. So how that formed, as I was saying, that dripping area, that dripping process, and you see in the upper left, that dripping process of the rain going through, accumulating calcite and dripping, decorates the cave, creates stalactites and stalagmites. But every 100,000 years, we have what we call cycle, that is the ice ages, basically. And so we are in one of the interglacial cycles, so the water is low, the caves are dry, this moment, the high water, the ice sheet melt, we have a higher sea, the caves are flooded. They flooded last time 8,000 years ago. So all these caves are flooded. They cannot decorate because you don't have the dripping. In this case, the flow is just making the cave bigger. But every 50,000 years, that changes into an ice age. In the ice age, you get the water accumulating in the poles. The water level gets down by 100 meters, so 300 feet. At that point, the caves get exposed. And then the decoration happens. The stalactites and stalagmites get bigger. But then 50,000 years later, they get submerged again. And therefore, we have at least registered 2 different cycles of how they were decorated, enlarged, decorated, enlarged, decorated, enlarged. So everything that we see here is something that took a lot of time to create. And when those caves collapse, and those readers that happen, started eroding too close to the ceiling, they collapse and they create a cenote. A cenote is basically that conduit between the water river system and the surface. And that cave can be just a very small exit or can be a massive, massive cavern. In this case, this is a very famous nautical pit that goes down to that hydrogen sulfide cloud that we have there is 40 meters, that are 420 feet, but then the cave goes down to 370 feet, I believe, into the part that is called the Wakula Rock. So that you feel the notion of understanding you're in this space, and it's majestic because it's incredibly translucent. And the light rays itself, you start realizing that you take light for granted. You don't understand the notion of how the light beams really gets finite. It gets almost a body, because there is the light passing through the channel, through the canopy, and filtering through something that is moving. So you really get a sense of pulses of light going around you. And that gets, in this case, for example, that is just a very big cavern with a small entry. That, what is called a God ray, that is the very punctual ray coming from the Senate, that is making that strong light illuminating from the upper part in a complete pitch black environment. And because it's so translucent, you don't realize that it's water. And in this case, you have, in this case, my model diver, I'm always the photographer in the picture, so this is always my body that appears into it, that is almost always the same person, that is floating on that cloud, on a crazy ethereal cloud. And those are the crazy feelings that you have. It's like, how the hell you are suspended in light, floating on top of a cloud if I'm underwater? And that's exactly what draws me to look for these experiences. Because I felt I'm a designer as a profession, I'm an inventor. You have a product I designed in my houses. I saw that in your desk you have a scissor for freedom. I designed that scissor. I'm somebody that creates products and experiences for living. And suddenly I was coming in this environment, and I was exposed to something I could not explain. And it was so magical that I tried to capture with my GoPro at the time. But as you know, the GoPro has a very bad low light sensibility, so nothing came out. I mean, it was a fantastic experience, the best of my life. Nothing came out. I was so frustrated that I went back, I contacted Backscatter, and I was like, okay, I need to learn photography. What's the camera I need to get? And that's how we started the journey 10 years ago. But then, again, we are in the middle of the jungle. This is, I mean, while this is fantastic underwater, you're literally in the middle of the jungle. So this is a typical entry for us. That pond, that ugly, stupid pond that you see here, that's the entrance. That's the typical entrance to the underworld. It's just a small hole where all the debris of the jungle gets to go. And that's part of this discussion is about when it rains, not only does get this carbonic acid, but also gets the tannin from the barks of the trees. And that tannin has a slightly different color than the normal water. So that tannin tints the surface of the water because it floats. So it gets acclimated to the surface, and it tints the water green. And suddenly you are in the water, suspended, with all this crazy alien information, and suspended in a color that you cannot expect. So it's so strange, it's so foreign, and makes it magical. And the funny thing about the tannin is that depending on the concentration, usually the concentration is given by the amount of, but also the temperature. So if you get in the rainy season, this is, for example, is right after a hurricane. I get to live in the peninsula, and there was so much concentration of tannin that it gets this incredibly strong orange color. And again, this is just badly by the sun, but you get that tint that it goes from the green that you can see in the lower part going into this yellow, orange, reddish. But this is the strongest that you can get. In the middle of the summer, there has been a really strong accumulation of tannin. So basically, you have a natural color modifier. Again, no Photoshop here. This is the real color of the photo coming from your raw camera. So it's really about understanding how to capture that. And when you're looking with a naked eye, maybe you're not seeing unless you position properly against the light and you start discovering all the filters. But suddenly, in this case, we are traveling with a scooter through a nautical system. They also have from the nautical Yakul, going through going through these sun rays. So different rays. With a lagoon on top, so with a very strong red tannic acid, and that it can get again incredibly strong. This is in a lagoon. By the way, we were doing some scientific survey in a lagoon that has 52 different crocodiles in that small lagoon, and we were in there doing sediment sampling. But then you have the notion of understanding how that color then creates magical photos. Because you're managing to create this photo of a blue crab, for example, that is fishing on the current of the cenote, close to the ocean, close to the sea, where the water is salty, and therefore you have more life than in a normal cenote that is in the darkness. I'm going to explain that in a second. And here he's fishing in the current, but you have that completely framed by the darkness of the cave, with the texture of the mangroves on top, tinted by the tannic acid. So the composition, the elements of composition that we had to capture the photo, are just fantastic. Do you have? If you have any question, please stop me. Okay? Otherwise, I'm going to keep talking.
But undo it for just
So
hey, Martin, just a second. I think Cindy had raised her hand earlier. Cindy, did you have a question?
Lovely. By the way, I cannot see the hands in the presentation mode, so please just interrupt me.
Yeah.
No, I was going to do an emoji and I hit the wrong button.
Oh.
At least you're honest.
I cannot explain how to do that.
Okay, I think we're good.
So,
These are beautiful. Yes, thank you, Martin.
So, so this is how a huge cenote looks like. This is close to the room. This is a huge lagoon that is sometimes used for technical deep diving. but you can see how a big cenote looks from the surface, and this is a different one from the lower part, shot from 60 meters down, 60 meters mean 200 feet. But you can see for 200 feet down, how much of that light, of that empty, that entry hole that you have in the upper part, illuminates that texture, that rugged body of the geological construct. And just to provide reference on how big a cenote can be, this is the deepest one that you have in inland. That's also supposed to be a bigger one in the sea. But you can see this is the diver. That's my body at 40 meters down, so 120, 130 feet down, and you can see how much is just going and going and going. And clearly, this is a panorama shot, so this is 5 shots composed to be able to capture that. Even with a fisheye, is 5 shots composed of how big this is and how difficult it is to capture.
I love
And so the way I was saying about how this knowledge form, and it's the notion of you have to flow of the rivers are eroding the stone and closer to the surface to a point that it will collapse. But most of the time when they collapse, they will bring some of the jungle with it. So it's very normal that you have a cenote opening, a distance from the land to the water, that will depend on how far you are from the sea. If you're right beside the sea, the distance between the land and the sea is nothing. It's literally centimeters, like inches. But if you're inland, in the middle of Yucatan, that distance can be, 200 feet of distance between and you need to rappel down, or you need to, in this case, some people may build stairs, but if you're exploring, that means somebody needs to take you down with a rope. But when these collapse down, it's more often than not, you have a monticle, you have of sediment that fall down, and the trees that fall down from the jungle into the water. And because it's a very stable water, it's very low flow. In the upper part is fresh water, in the lower part you're going to have the salt water. But the organic matter starts degrading, but starts degrading incredibly slow. And when they degrade hydrogen sulfide cloud. And because there's no flow here, the hydrogen sulfide cloud will still build slowly around the bars, around all the organic matter. If the guy will pass through it, that hydrogen sulfide will completely dissolve and mix with the normal water, and it will completely disappear. But if you're not doing that, and if you go very quietly, you can still see that goaty feeling. That in a cenote, that this was within the COVID pandemic, so nobody was diving, and we went to a cenote that was not popular. Nobody was diving, so this was undisturbed cenote for a year, and suddenly that hydrogen sulfide cloud was full cenote. So it had these torture shapes of the degrading forests that fall into the water. And you're diving between those crazy shapes and the ghostly feeling of those clouds. It's really like being in a horror movie. And everything that I showed so far, all that is cover diving, meaning that you can do that with your existing level of certification. So what's the difference? What's cavern and what is cave? It is considered cavern that is 60 meters away from an exit. So, what is it? 180, so 200 feet from a safe exit. And then that can be 200 feet, meaning 200 feet down linearly, or 100 down, 100 in. So, means that if you have a problem, you don't need to solve it in situ, you can go and exit. You have a hose blown, you have a free flow, something, whatever breaks, your mask breaks, your computer died, whatever, you exit in safety. But then, you can go into cave. That means you get into the water and you start getting into that dark labyrinth and getting away from an exit as far as you want. And that means that when you're far from an exit, if you imagine that you're an hour and a half away from an exit, which is a quite normal time, that means that if something happens, you have the rest of your life to solve the problem. Depending on how skillful you are, is depending how that will, how long that will be. So you have everything level. You always go to 2 cylinders or more. You always have 2 Macs. You have redundant computers. You have bungee cords and zip ties. If the strap of your thing breaks, you're gonna solve it. If your whatever breaks, you're gonna be able to solve it underwater. And you're always going to have extra gas to solve your problem and exit. So we work with the rule of thirds. You penetrate with 1/3 of the gas, you exit with 1/3 of the gas, and you always keep untouched 1/3 of the gas. And that gas you only use it in emergency mode. And that is how you program the thing. And if you're with a scooter, for example, it's like those underwater vehicles. Then you need to calculate more gas because clearly if you have a problem and your scooter fails, you need to be able to exit. So you need to figure out how to program the gas, no matter that you're with a CCR or in whatever condition you are. So it's very normal that you will see us diving with 2, 3, 4 tanks or 2 tanks and a rebreather. And again, and a normal dive in a cave will probably last 2 hours and a half. And my longest before tanks been 5 hours because they're incredibly shallow. So you can't really go and penetrate as much as you want. But inside, it's just majestic. This is the first hole I had a winning contest, which now I have more than 70. But you can see the level of detail. You can see how much textures that is in the top of the sea. You can tell that very few people visited this space. It's virgin. There's almost no stalactite broken in the ground. This is a complete untouched environment, and you're there floating through this maze of stalactites and stalagmites. Tony.
Okay, so of course the photographers in the room are asking, how did you light this scene? How did you get the light? How did you plan for that?
So this is one single light. So there is behind the diver. One single light. This is a big blue. At that time was a big blue, 15,000 lumens.
Okay.
That's the small one. That's one single light. Sorry to the audience, but this is a technical term. This is the design. In technical diving, as you know, you have to do everything with one hand. So you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So if you say gas, you don't do gas, you do gas. So all the gestures need to be done with one hand. So the gesture of showing the light pointing to the butt of the diver in front of you is called butt shot. And this is the technical term we use in Mexico. I popularize it with some friends, but if I do this, it means that somebody will light from behind. And that allows you to have this race. And why this is so effective is because not only you're illuminating, and you can see that all the shadows are towards the camera. First of all, if you're in an environment that is closed, if you're in a shipwreck, if you're in the monetary mines, if you're in this space, the worst thing that you can do is try to illuminate as you will be in a reef. You never put your strobes and never shine from the camera. This is always off-camera lighting. So no light in the camera, just one single light behind the diver, illuminating everything. From the back. In this case, I had a second diver pointing that light into the first diver, right? But normally I don't do it that way. I call my buddy, we're in the darkness, I call him with the light and tell him, I gonna photograph. You go there, and I put my light on it, on the position I want him to be, and I tell him, light 2, the powerful, drop it for a bad shot. And you, the first light, point that direction. With that gesture, he could know exactly where to put himself, and while he's getting their position, I'm gonna place the lights, and I'm gonna position myself. And honestly, that takes us, we can do a full photographic session in 5 minutes. Because again, you're running out of gas and you cannot exit. You need to get out from the cave to be able to exit.
Are you also doing scientific work at the same time? So you're incorporating these photographs in with that kind of stuff, or?
I would not advise, I mean, the notion of task loading,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
it gets real here.
Uh-huh.
It gets, I mean, so first of all, you're in an environment that if you don't control your perfect buoyancy, you break something. If you get distracted with your camera, you break something.
Yeah.
If you lose track, you may lose the exit. So basic rules, you don't need the line. If I need to need the line, I put a flash. I grab I usually, you carry primary light, secondary light, and one more light in the pouch. Beside that, I have 4 lights on video or something else. I usually carry a lot of lights. I will grab one of my backup lights and I will hang it from the line in a flashing mode. So I can cover my light and I can see where the line is. But otherwise, you never leave the line, for example. Before taking a photo, you're gonna get there. So, okay, when I take a photo, before I tell somebody to go there, the first thing you're gonna do is, okay, how much gas I have in this tank, how much tank I have in this gas in tank. I will switch regulators if I had to switch. I will then figure out where I am, and only then grab my camera. Which is, by the way, I don't dive with the camera in the front. Never two hands in the camera. You're in a hostile environment. You need to solve emergencies. So the camera is, in this case, hands-free. I clip it on my back. So no arms, very compact setup. No matter that it's a full frame. I shoot Sony. So I'm shooting with a Sony A1 now. I used to shoot with the Sony A7R3. Very compact setup. Clip with two double simulators in my D-rings in the back. And I dive in with hands free when I want to do the signals. I clip it, check everything, and then I start taking photos.
Wow.
So the notion of what I was saying is about task loading. Imagine the situation: you're in your environment, trying to do this. You're managing maybe a dry suit. You're managing a CCR. You're getting the camera. You're trying to position the lighting. It's a lot. It's really a lot of things. So very important thing is you need to always push your limit, but you need to do it incredibly gradually. If you don't push your limit, you will not advance. But if you push it too fast, you're risking it. So it's really about understanding how to always get a little bit outside of your zone of comfort by pushing and getting better and better. The things I will freak out when I start diving in a cave, now is like the most normal thing. In the cave diving course, the first thing that when you do the full cave, you need to do a zero visibility exit. So the first thing that you do is they get you in a training cave so that you cannot break anything. Let's say that way. There's a line that you may be like 20 meters away, 20 minutes away from an exit. They put you a blindfold, and you need to exit by touching the line. And while you're moving, trying to follow that line, and that you imagine hitting rocks and things, your instructor know every failure that they can do to your equipment. They will inflate your wing, they will close your regulator, they will simulate the free flow, they will try to push you out of the light. They will torture you and everything that can happen while you're following with your hand the line and trying to exit. And they will tell you everything that can go wrong at a certain point will go wrong and you need to know about it. And it's true. One of the exercises is whenever you get to a point that is tied to a rock, that you need to get there, you feel the rock and you feel how it continues. At that point, you change your regulator because you're trying to manage gases without even knowing the pressure that you have in the gas. And one of the things that they tell you is about you need to open your regulator. Like, why do you open the regulator? Because the regulator can close itself. Like, how the hell the regulator can close itself? You know what? Yes, it happened to me.
Really?
You're in a restriction, you're in zero visibility, in a restriction, and you're giving friction to the rock. And suddenly I realized that my regulator was closed. My tank was closed completely.
How long did you do training in a cave before you brought the camera?
I'm not a good example. Like, zero.
Don't
See,
do
so
what Martin
I,
did.
I finished the training and I grabbed the camera.
Yeah,
For me, was not cave diving, was photographing caves.
got it.
So literally next day.
Yeah,
But again, the camera is in the back. If I don't, I mean, and situations, it's a restriction, I may keep it in the line and I leave it there till I come back. Because I need to come back from the same exit. But I when day one, I have friends that have been training for 3 years and I have that they're all sitting in the same cenote, which I haven't done. I've done again more than 340.
do you dive with the same group of divers, or do you have different teams?
I do with at least 15 different groups, but you will see that in my photos, 95% of the time is the same person. Because with him, I mean, we do things that some other groups will look like a full plan, like you've been planning for weeks for doing that dive, and we do it like, okay, where we go today? And it's like, we grab a map and we plan and we grab gear and we just go and we do things that are really pushing the limit. And we do it on the fly because we know each other so well.
That's cool.
But again, and by the way, if I had to say what's my secret weapon of photography, and I can say afterwards, that's my body, because he knows that. By the way, you're trusting your life to him as well. Which, by the way, sounds extreme on the cave diving, but this happens as well in every dive that you're doing.
Sure.
And that's why also the rescue diver course as well. Is because you need to know who you're diving and you need to be able to be responsible for that dive. Purpose as well. You need to know that you can, if something goes wrong, and if you don't know how to manage it, that diver can put you at risk as well. So you need to figure out how to know, I mean, all those circumstances. So
Sure.
usually it's always the same diver. So my body is my preferred diver. But also I do with a lot of other people because sometimes certain cases is known by somebody else.
How long have you been diving with this same buddy?
I will say 600 dives. 600 technical dives, or 500 technical at least.
So it's just
So
cool
quite
that
a-
you found a person that can join you on these dives. And
No,
it's
yeah,
also-
and by the way, he's a guide. So I most of the time I hire him. I mean, we do a lot of excursion as well, but he's a guy that he was my trainer. And I start pushing him. First of all, if you do cave diving, no matter your level of training, I would advise you go with a local guide, sorry, because they know the caves and they know how they change the line and they know the navigation by heart. So it always usually takes somebody that is local because even they change the lines time by time, or they know how to navigate also with the people that are the owners of the place. But in this case, it's because we will start diving together. We got to a point that he told me after 70 caves, I don't know any other. And I started researching and I started pushing him. And then we started doing DPV together. Then I started doing CCR and I just pushed him into CCR a couple of months ago. So we are evolving together as a team.
That's awesome.
And that's the beauty of it.
Well, this photograph is stunning, right? I mean, and I think as divers and photographers, when we look at this, I mean, you know what went into it. So
Yeah, and this is a 5-shot panorama as well because it was too wide to capture. So this is you put the camera vertical, you overlap 30% of the photo, and then you compose it in Lightroom.
wow.
So and again, for the photographers, there's no light. So I mean, you will say, "Oh, you're a heavy fisheye, fantastic." So you need to put your aperture needs to be in f11 at least because otherwise it's going to have softened borders.
Is your buddy a CCR in this picture too?
No, I'm waiting for him to read out. So all these photos are without CCR. Only one is with CCR. All the other ones are with open secret. So basically, I don't like bubbles in these cases. So I just wait for and I should, which again. If you should be shooting at, basically the thing is about normal sea diving, sea photograph, gonna be in f11 at 1/100 of a second, and it's whatever, I mean, 500, 1,000. But there's no light here. No matter that I have a very powerful light, I'm shooting here at fully open, so 4.5 aperture. ISO, the highest that the camera can handle without noise, in this case 6400.
Wow.
And then the only other variable that you have to play is the speed. So what's the slowest that you can go without getting the camera shake? In this case, it's 1/15 of a second, or 1/6 of a second.
That's amazing.
Not because you want to, not because it's good, it's just because there's not enough light
Yeah.
to do this, right?
It's
So now I'm shooting with two big blues of 33,000 each one. So I have, three of them. So now I have a lot more powerful, but it's never enough. I mean, no matter how much light you carry, it's never enough. So anyway,
Okay, sorry.
the interesting thing on this is, and by the way, interrupt me as much as you want, and ask the technical photography question. But another thing on this is elaborate. It goes left and right. I mean, you may be in an intersection that opens in 4 and opens in 5, but also opens up and down. So the feeling of parallel worlds, the feeling of exploration of an alien world that you have is just fantastic. The notion of being competing close to the darkness and you're hearing your breathing. And again, if you're diving in the bottom of the mines that are close to you, you may have some of that feeling as well. But this is so alien as a feeling that is fantastic. And you're fully thrown up with the decorations. Honestly, this decoration that happens with linear. And sometimes you will stop and look at formation because it's so cool. It looks like a sculpture. So you may be diving through formations and just getting lost on the crazy shapes that you have around you. And then you have a combination, because also in the cave you may have titanic acid coming close to the surface. So this is a shallow cave that the water got into, and titanic acid got accumulated to it. So if you illuminate it in a proper way, then you have all these ragged stalactites. I mean, highlighted by the titanic green of Titanic. So you start getting something really crazy as formation. And as I have on the title page, then if you put the light correctly, and you can see here, you can see clearly how many lights you have. One behind the diver pointing backwards, one down here pointing up, one here pointing up, and his primary light. So 4 lights, 3 on the primary. But because the light is, I mean, you have a density that is higher in the upper part and going lower, if you illuminate it properly, you're in the rainbow. And it feels, I mean, and it's just, I mean, tricking your mind. Because again, yeah, these are colors underwater. It doesn't feel normal, right? And another thing that happens is that you're in a complete enclosure. And so even when you have a air dome, the air dome is not disturbed. So you don't have waves. You don't have, I mean, you don't have ripples in the surface. Only the ones that your bubble in your particle will create. But it gets so flat. And because it's flat, and there's no light on top, there's no sun, you're in an enclosed environment, the water becomes a mirror. So in this case, I just played with the notion of, in this case, I pack it up, I seal it up. I mean, by the way, you're not pinning, you are frog kicking, right? In the same way that you're going to have in the probably if you do a penetration in a shipwreck or if you have in a mud dive. So you try not to seal down. In this case, I turned around, I didn't realize there was a mountain, so I sealed it out. But I had that feeling of you had the roots of the trees coming from the ground outside, and then you have the cloud in the lower part. So it feels that the trees are in the upper part and the clouds in the lower part. So it feels that it's upside down. But then that same mirror effect, I was saying, this is a mirror effect in the upper part, and the stalactites going through that mirror, so that column of water. And suddenly it feels like the floating mountains of Pandora. No? So it's really suspended in the air. And by the way, this is that you can do with your normal certification. Because you have the exits to the surface, and therefore you can do it in an open circuit with an open water certification, by the way.
That's incredible.
And if you position the light in the right way, you can see here you have again one behind the diver, one down in the lower part, one here in the middle that side. and then the reflection of this light in the upper part, the reflection of this light here, the reflection of this light here. So the reflections are maximizing your light effect field.
Yeah.
Another thing that you get, by the way, is that a halocline, that in the open sea you just feel as an uncomfortable situation because you may feel the water temperature change. In this case, you see the line between fresh and salty water because it's undisturbed. There's no currents, there's no mixing. Being undisturbed, you get there with your fins. You see a very finite, perfect line between the fresh water in the upper part and salty water below. And the funny thing is because it's so clean that you can jump the salty water into the fresh water, and you feel that you're going from the water to the air, and your brain tricks you to make you believe that you're falling down. It's so surreal. It's like when you go to sleep and you're coming down, it's the same feeling, but you're awake and you're diving, and you. So again, it's the interesting thing about it in this case is that it really tricks your senses in so many different levels. And this is a photo. This is the one with the CCR, for example. So this is it's called the blue abyss. So this is a sinkhole, but it's a sinkhole that is within a cave. So you're coming through a cave in the darkness, and suddenly the bottom disappears, and you have a full cold coming down. So in here, I was in 60 meters, so again, 200 feet, shooting upwards to, both of us CCR, so I can get through it. But you kind of get a feeling, and this is the blue is just the column of water, because it's so deep, 200 feet, and such a wide cave that is bouncing at the light. Therefore, you have this blue color of the column of water. But again, tell me that this doesn't feel like being in the space. And talking about space, this is a very common cenote that you can do with the open water certification or the advanced certification, or a little deeper. That is called zapote, that is a zapote tree, the chiclete, but it's also known as the hell bells, that are these formations here. And these formations are not stalactites, are biofilms, so are created by bacteria. So bacteria that feeds on the hydrogen sulfide of the cloud in total darkness, in total absence of sunlight, creates a bell-shaped formation. And honestly, you're there and you feel to be in the alien movie. In the first one, when they get down into the planet and they're surrounded by the X, that's the same feeling that you get diving in this cave. It is just mind-blowing.
Martin, how deep is that one right there?
That one, the bells are 35 meters, that means 100 feet.
100 feet, yeah.
And right below the diver, you start having a hydrogen sulfide cloud, and then the cenote goes all the way to 62 meters, so 200 feet, but you need to have a very special authorization to go down because there's fossils below. I done a paleontological survey there. And so basically, they only let you get with one single tank as a non-guide. So you cannot go deep, basically. So, but again, all the beauty of this one is above the 40 meters and therefore 130 feet.
There's animal bones down there, or human?
Sure. Talking about that. I'm gonna explain it in a second.
Okay.
The most interesting thing about this case is that it is a time capsule. Again, as I was explaining at the very beginning, to form these took hundreds of thousands of years. So 100,000 years every glaciation and 22 different glaciations. This is how long it took to form. So when you're in the cave, you feel that you're traveling through time. You had the feeling that you're there and a mammoth will appear in front of you. You honestly had that feeling. It's so primitive. And honestly, that's exactly the truth. Because the thing is that the fresh water with almost no current preserves everything within it. So if you have a fossil or an artifact in the surface, we get degraded by the wind and the sand. We get covered by the jungle. If it's in the water, we get preserved. So it is very normal that you get into because of the cenote, and you can see this is a jaw, a human jaw and a skull. But basically, it is very normal that you start finding rest of the Mayan civilization or Chicleros that is recent, or things that are far into the past. For example, here in the right, this is not a photo. The one in the right, this is a photogrammetry. So I will go there, I will take 100 pictures or 500 pictures of the skull, and I will recreate it with a photogrammetry software, IDSoft. And this is a snapshot of the screen capture I do for the photogrammetry for the scientists. But you can see here, for example, that these teeth are carved. So this person was royalty. This person had the teeth carved to put a jade decoration on the teeth. And they had the skull completely deformed. So the Mayans, they were deformed. They had the teeth with bandages and blanks in the skull. So they forced the skull deformation when they were growing up to prepare them for the royalty. Because they thought that they would resemble like a jaguar, and that was a power play. So you will see a lot of deformed skulls, for example. And that means usually this is going to be quite recent. Usually, I mean, this can be 2,500 years to probably 500 years ago. But you see a lot of human skulls and a lot, depending on the area, this is more normal close to Merida, in the ring of cenotes than in the close to the room. And you can go with an open water certification to sites that are sacred burials areas, if you want to say it. But then you go even deeper on time, because again, the Mayans were existing, 5,000 years ago. But then you know that these caves got flooded 8,000 years ago. So most of these skulls are skulls that they are dropped, mostly on purpose or sometimes accidentally, close to the cenote entrance. So that's how you know that they're recent. But suddenly, you're in a cave, and you are hundreds of meters away, or minutes away from an exit, and you may find that it is completely mined. So they were mining for ochre, or red ochre, that they use for sacrificial decoration. Or you can see, this is an intersection, it's a juncture of caves, and you can see there's a pile of rocks indicating the navigation. And again, this got flooded 8,000 years ago.
Wow.
So this means that are the first Paleo-Americans that came to the area, and already this is 10,000 to 8,000 years ago. We were already mining, and that means that the level of social organization that they had was much more advanced than what they thought originally.
Yeah.
And it's very normal. This is if you see the camera, this is the skull of Naya, one of the first individuals. Sorry, this is Ixchel. That is 9,600 years old. And you can, because you get exposed to things, I start collaborating with paleontologists. And now they send me to missions. So, for example, this is a one-to-one size of a claw of a giant sloth.
Oh my gosh.
And again, it looks completely real. Don't worry, these are replicas, because again, I'm a 3D model expert. So this is a photogrammetry, so I take hundreds of photos, I do the 3D model in color, and I reproduce it for the scientists. Of course, nothing of this is real. By the way, if you take a fossil, that would be a very big international offense, an Interpol level offense. So, but in this case, because I am a technical diver, I can get there, and I know photography, and I know photogrammetry and 3D printing, the scientists will send me to missions to look for different fossils or relics to be collecting. And for example, this is, if you ever went diving in the cenote, probably the first dive that you will do is in cenote dos ojos, 2 eyes, and they will tell you, you're going to see this rock that looks like a sculpture of Madonna. No, that's a real sculpture. That doesn't look like a sculpture. If you look at down, this is cemented. It already dripped in. So somebody more than 8,000 years ago put a decoration at the entrance that looks like a female form. So this is art from more than 8,000 years ago, and you have it in front of your eyes. So you have all this culture coming into, and this is a theory I have. I still trying to figure out how to get the expedition to prove it. That this altar here maybe the proof of the first social experience or even religion in America. And you still can, and again, I still need to prove this, but no matter what, the notion that you can still dive on these things and have that level of discovery and be able to still pushing the limit of what is known, it's just amazing. But then again, that happens with the humans. But then you start seeing, again, fossils of, in this case, giant sloth. But giant sloth, you have two different types, the Nothotherium, the small ones, or the Megatheriums, the big ones. And they're huge. Or you're in the middle of a cave, far away from an exit, and you see a vertebra. This is the size of the vertebra compared to the diver. All this is a vertebra, one vertebra, because it's a Nothotherium. So it's a mastodon-like. And it's like, how the hell they got here? Yeah. And of course, more than 8,000 years ago, when, again, it was the Ice Age, so water was on the poles, sea level was lower. If you want to have fresh water, you need to get through the jungle, into the cave, go down to find the water. Okay, I forgot to say something. There are no rivers in Yucatan. Because it's limestone, as it rains, it goes through the limestone into the underwater caves. So there are no rivers on the surface. So you want to get water? Cenote. That's it. That's the option. And that's why in the Mayan culture, cenote was a sacred place. Cenote means secret well. So all the animals were going in the dark to find the water, and therefore, when they die there, you can find the rest completely preserved. And this is one of the most beautiful I've seen. And you can see the skull here with the jaw, all the column, the legs, the arms, the claws. So this is perfectly preserved. An hour and a half away by scooter. That means 2 hours and a half away from an exit. After you do 7 jumps of lines in the darkness. So it's a nice, interesting navigation to get there, but you can get things that is like perfectly preserved, better than in a museum in front of your eyes, and only a handful of people have ever seen.
That's incredible.
And this is, again, you have these cycles. You have these cycles of ice ages. So we know that it flooded last time 8,000 years ago here. And we know that humans arrived 8,000 years ago, around 11 to 13 years ago. That's the estimate when the humans arrived. So we know we find bones for all this megafauna that we're going to explain in a second. But if you go further back to the past, then you get to the moment where the cenotes were flooded, and we find shells of turtles of 100 years ago, and we even find shells of turtles of 200,000 years ago. And this is a perfect shell of a careta turtle in front of your eyes there from 200,000 years ago. And the sad component of this is that in America, in North America, we used to have lions, we used to have camels, we used to have American horses, we used to have giant sloths, saber-tooth tiger, flat-faced bear. We still have bisops. We used to have Megatherium, Sagotherium. We extinct when the first humans arrived to the area because the groups of animals were reduced. And you still have the same megafauna that you see in Africa was existing in America. But again, existing from an ice age, which by the way was not the first ice that they survived. All these animals survived at least 4 precedent ice ages, so it was not the ice age that killed them. But they were in a reduced number because the ecosystem was changing. When the humans came with projectiles and fire, they managed to extinct 75% of all megafauna that were in the area. So this was the area where you can see the first man-made mass extinction. It's literally brutal to see that. And then you go outside, and this is why I wrote the book. It's because you realize how we are destroying everything. You had the greed of the owners of the ground that they may have a cenote, and they decide to enlarge it. Because I can get snorkelers if I make it bigger. And they try to make it bigger, they collapse the water flow, they start filling with bacteria, and they had to abandon it because it's just full of bacteria and the water is not flowing. And you can start seeing these cenote after cenote. You can see the Maya chain with the columns going through the water column. It's just devastating. And then you have the water pollution, the pig farms upstream. So, and that's why I end up creating that Latin Gender world. That's why, for example, tomorrow I give in a conservation talk for the Mexican university. I'm trying to figure out how to educate people on what is there. So, a couple of very fast key learnings as diver and photographer. First of all, get the training right. when you think about the rescue diver, yes, do that. That's the first step.
Yes.
I mean, master diver, yes, of course I'm a master scuba diver of PADI. But that was, I don't know, 15 years ago. And long gone. I mean, now, to be mod 3 CCR, that means going 330 feet down in a cave, you need a certain different level of certification. So always keep on learning. No matter it's photography, that is diving. By the way, you cannot do underwater photography unless you have the right skill of diving first. So it's first the diving skill, then the camera. Then you increase the diving skill, then the camera. Then the diving skill and the camera. So it's, and yes, you keep on spending a lot of money. Don't talk with my wife about it. But and more normal than not, again, it's 2 times salary review or 4 times CCR, I mean, 4 independent regulators, and yes, it's a lot of year. Long story short, figure out how to keep advancing because that will give you exposure to new adventures.
Yeah.
Second thing is about get used to fail. Don't get there and it's like, I'm gonna be able to do this. It's about, no, I'm gonna try that. I enjoy the process of learning and getting there. Don't try to go for the destination, go for the journey. And one thing that really took me there, and I went from 0 to award-winning in 3 years, to be completely honest. But because I had that mindset, I had it from my professional, the design thinking mindset that is fail to learn. You go with an hypothesis, you know that it's going to be incorrect, but you know that you're going to try something to learn from it, not to make it right. And then you adjust it, go again, try it, go again, try it, go again, try it. This is one stupid shot that took me 7 trips to get it. I wanted to do a shot in the darkness of a cave with a DPV, so underwater the propulsion vehicle, going through the cave and illuminating the cave to do a light trail with a DPV in a cave. And why? Because I want to try. So this is one of the only photo I have in the full portfolio that have a tripod, so on top of a rock, that you have information, a 30-second exposure, with and that I had to create a rig of lights to be able to do that. And the first light, the rig I created, it didn't work, the second didn't work, the third one didn't work, the fourth one didn't work, the fifth one didn't work. And I keep on, and again, I don't live there, so I came back to New York, I designed something, next trip I tried something else. So 7 trips to get this photo. Why? I didn't know why. I just wanted to play. But the thing is about, I've been doing that with every single thing. Every time I go with a trip, I take 3 new things I want to try. And I always joke with my friend, with my dive buddy, is like, hey, what do you brought? I brought this, this, and this. Is it going to work? Yeah, no. Probably not, but let's try. And that's cute. And that's how I got so fast. The other thing is about focusing on a subject and take it to the next level. So this is, again, the same cenote that a lot of you may know if you've been in the area, that is called El Pit, with the hydrogen sulfide at 40 meters, 120 feet. But people don't know that the hydrogen sulfide cloud goes down the river and gets to the Wakula room, and then at 100 and 200 feet, it's completely flat. And then it disappears at 90 meters, so at 240 feet. So it's getting, being able to advance your skill to the next level by practicing one single subject. And I will already talk about this one. The main surreal weapon, my body. How fast I can do a photo with him is just amazing. And another thing is about, and I touch about it, is have fun. This cannot be torture. I mean, you need to love what you do. You need to figure out how to have it. But at the same time, and start to assume, is trying to get the purpose. It's understanding how that helps, understanding that we're not doing that for fun. It's about understanding how you can start helping somebody, understanding how that photo will help communicate somebody. I mean, don't the scientists are working. If you go into an island, or if you know that you're in whatever island, and you're gonna be there for a couple of weeks, and you know what, you have some time to spare. Like, okay, who's working in that area? I mean, do they need a photographer? Do they need a diver? Fantastic. Offer yourself. I mean, figure out how to support. I mean, I can tell you, it's so rewarding. I mean, I had some very difficult moments in my life. Like this lady here in the upper right corner, this is a tortoise. I don't do much land photography, but I was doing a talk in the Explorers class in New York, and a group asked me, and I mentioned all these. By the way, all these photos are open for free. If you're a scientist or a conservation group, you need one of these photos, you tell me, and I will give it for free. That's the idea. And I was giving that talk. They asked me, can I go and help with photography with these tortoises in New Jersey that they're a rescue center. So the tortoises that get trafficked into the U.S. for collectionists sometimes get captured in the airports and they get sent into the center. So I went there to take photos and asked me, concentrate from her. And I was like, why here? And look at my eyes and said, she's the last one. She's the very last female of their species.
Really?
If she dies, all the flathead Burmese tortoises are extinct. And the feel of pressure that you have in that moment is incredible. So, and then you start doing that, and doing one at the other, and then working with tortoise conservation at night just for fun, it starts being pretty rewarding. So if you have time to spare, do it, volunteer. I tell you, it's incredibly rewarding. So to end, back to the phrase of Babalu. In the end, we will only conserve what we love, and we only love what we understand. So we have our responsibility as photographers. We have our responsibility as storytellers. We are the ones that can bring to light things that other people do not have the luxury to witness. And that's it. So this is that's why I created the book. That's why I'm pushing on trying to understand how we can help. That's why I just recently became part of the International League of Conservation Photographers, and that's why I dedicated my time to give talks, trying to help people get to the next level. And I will stop sharing.
Oh. I'm a little overwhelmed. I mean, it was very moving, and the photography is absolutely stunning. So I do want to give a shout out to one of our dive masters on staff. He just finished up his cave certification with Marissa Eckert, I think, in that area too, right? Yeah. So anyway, shout out to David and earning. You know, when I first became a diver, I was the nervous one. I totally remember my husband wanting to go to 40 feet at the quarry, and we went down there and he stuck his gauge in there to show that he had reached 40 feet. And I remember picking a fight with him on the way home, like, how dare he try to kill me at 40 feet, you know? And so it is very ironic that I own a scuba shop. And then just recently, in light of what you were saying, I was very blessed to start joining some of Faith Orton's groups with Blue Green Expeditions. So she does trips to Antarctica and the Arctic, and she does a magnificent job of melding scientists with, you know, citizen scientists, folks like myself, who just want to go and participate. And so I was thinking to myself, when we were sharing those ideas about helping scientists, we would take pictures of sea stars, trying to document sea star wasting disease. You know, so you're absolutely right. You know, they're desperate for you know, people to help and participate.
I saw their skill.
Yes, and to participate in the process and help, you know, develop data, because nothing matters without the data, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
So.
And it's very interesting for people that have not get to that level. It's about with the right tool and the right training, everything is easy. It's amazing how I realized I was doing the PADI 45. So 45 meters down, 50 feet down. And I worked with guys that was incredibly narcotic, but badly narcotic. So completely drunk at 45 meters. And I didn't enjoy it at all. And then I tried twinnings. And they're like, oh, I was like completely lose it. I mean, it's like, oh, it's just about having the right tool and the right training at the right time.
Amen.
So, and that's it. And you can do whatever you can imagine with the right process and the right training.
Absolutely. So I just, looking at all that and thinking about, my cavern training and stuff like that, all it does is make me want to pursue it further. So thank you for that. Do we have any other questions for Martin while he's here?
No, but I want to just say thank you, Martin, for looking at your book. I knew I had to have you come talk and show some of your cenote photography, because we do have some people that in the area like going and diving in the cenotes and that. It's just to be able to see so much more than what we as an occasional visitor get to see on our trips is amazing.
Yeah, I know that you can get to this level probably with whatever subject, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Well, here in Missouri, actually we have a very thriving cave diving community, and they've also participated with scientists and extended line and that sort of thing, and done some research. So I know even locally it's available and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, definitely need to go back.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us. I know Cindy and Angie, they just came back raving, and they were super excited about sharing your stories and sharing how they met you and everything else. And I appreciate you very much in joining us tonight and sharing your wonderful photography, but more importantly, your enthusiasm and the reminder that, we all can make a difference. So, thank you again, and we'll make sure and post Martin's websites and share his adventures with everybody moving forward. I want to thank you for joining us, Martin. Everybody, let's give him a big round of applause. Yay. Yeah.
See you, Martin.
Good night, Martin. Thank you so much. And Angela, from calling us from how far up are you? 30,000 feet?
45,000 feet or whatever.
45.
Like
She's on
I'm
an airplane.
2 hours into going to Bali.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. That's technology.
Love it.
Love you, honey. Take good care.
Okay.
See ya.
Good night, Martin.
Good night, everybody. Good night.